Good evening, colleagues. Please be seated. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this meeting of the Borough Council. This meeting is being recorded and live streamed. Welcome to those members of the public in the public gallery here with us today, and all those watching from home. If any member of the public or press would like to record the proceedings themselves, please ensure this is done from the public gallery without interfering with the business of today's meeting. If the fire alarm should sound, could those sitting in the public gallery leave by the doors behind them, and those sitting on the council chamber floor leave through the doors behind myself, and can we congregate at the front of the town hall? To limit disturbances, please ensure mobile phones and other electronic devices are turned off during the meeting, and that we have no interruptions or disruption from the chamber floor or public gallery that makes conducting business difficult. Any member who wishes to speak on any of the agenda items should use the microphone provided. Members should indicate that they wish to speak by raising their hand and being invited to speak by myself. All other councillors must remain silent while another member is speaking. Members are reminded that the Code of Conduct applies to this meeting, and we should always demonstrate respectful and courteous behaviour. I have received apologies from the following councillors: Councillor Amar, Councillor Duncan, and Councillor Kennedy. Are there any further apologies? Yes, Councillor Proudlock. Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, I'm just trying to put apologies for Councillor Malcolm. Is it because he's another police investigation, or is it just he's a coward to come and face the people? Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Councillor Roberts. Councillor Roberts, I have just read out about the Code of Conduct, and I have also pointed out about people being disruptive. We are taking apologies. It's not for you to sit there and criticise somebody else why they're not here. Thank you very much. Anybody else? Councillor Leask, did somebody say? Councillor Leask. Any other apologies? And Councillor Anne Walsh. Thank you, colleagues. We now move on to item 1, declarations of interest. The first item of business is declarations of interest. Does any member wish to make a declaration before we move on to the next item of business? Yes, Councillor Best.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's item 6, paragraph 14. I've been involved in the work on securing the community food bus in my employment with the Member of Parliament. So I'll not take part in the debate, but as it's a to-note report, I'll remain in the room. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other declarations of interest, Councillor Walsh?
Madam Mayor, can I just declare my interest in terms of item 11, motion 1, NHS workers, as I've got a disclosable pecuniary interest as I work for North East Ambulance Service, and I'll leave the meeting during the discussion of motion 1.
Thank you, Councillor Walsh. Councillor McCabe.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My wife's data sister in the NHS, so that I'm going to declare that, just in case anybody thinks there's something going on. Always better to give a declaration of interest. Also, I'm a proud member of the Save South Tyneside Hospital campaign. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McCabe. Councillor Dean.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm a member of the Joint Transport Committee, just for motion 4.
Thank you. Councillor Strike.
I have a disclosure of pecuniary interest for the NHS item motion 1, so I'll leave the meeting when that's discussed.
Thank you, Councillor Strike. Councillor McHugh.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I'm a member of the Joint Transport Committee also.
Thank you. Councillor Dean.
This is Dean as Councillor.
Thank you. Is there any other declarations of interest? Councillor Francis?
Sorry, it's just two. I'm not sure if both of these are relevant, but one, I'm on the Joint Transport Overview and Scrutiny Committee. And secondly, I'm also a member of the Save South Tyneside Hospital campaign.
Thank you, Councillor Francis.
I'm the
Can-
same, save the hospital campaign, and I'm a member.
Thank you, Councillor Stonehouse. Councillor Robertson?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think it would assist matters if in the near future there was not an amnesty, but sort of a declaration where these members is covered, the likes of Councillor Walsh, when it's their employment, etc. If there's a dispensation just done, it'll stop all this happening at every meeting. Because there's a number of things like what Councillor Dean's just done there. If it's just a blanket thing done, we'll save more time.
Have you got
No, I'm just making a suggestion if you don't mind.
Right, that would be noted. Thank you. Councillor Best?
Sorry, Madam Mayor, I should have also added that I am a member of the Save South Tyneside Hospital campaign. Thank you.
Councillor Gibson?
Madam Mayor, I'm a member of the Joint Transport Committee.
Thank you. Councillor Porthouse? Thank you. Is there any other declarations of interest? Councillor Dean?
Just the same, I'm a proud member of the Save South Tyneside Hospital campaign.
Thank you.
I'm a member of the Save South Tyneside Hospital campaign, and my two daughters work for the NHS.
Thank you, Councillor Herbert. The next item of business is the minutes of the meeting of the council held on the 23rd of February 2023. Are they accepted as a correct record? Councillor Robertson?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, I know this is about the accuracy of the minutes, and I think the word accuracy and clarity are pretty much the same. So if I can get some advice on the minutes, as in the clarity and the future clarity to stop this again and improve things. It says at page 3, the Mayor asked Councillor Robertson to consider his behaviour a disturbance between councillors across the chamber ensued. And I'll not read the whole paragraph. So it mentions Councillor Robertson, it mentions Councillor Roberts, but it does say clearly that it was across the chamber. And I think we'll all remember, I'm not going to say the name, there was another councillor on that side. I think it's unfair. We've either got to agree that councillors' names are mentioned and it goes across the board, or they're not mentioned. To mention just councillors on this side but not that side is a bit unfair. Yeah, and the same thing goes about the minutes of the meeting. And I'm looking for advice here and help for the future. Throughout the minutes, what you'll find is there's certain comments that's made by members and their name will be there. And then there's other comments made, good and bad, where it just says a member asked. We need to get something agreed where members' names is either in or they're not. And what I've got here is the minutes from the Place Select Committee on the 23rd of January. Can I just say about the minutes, please? And
Councillor, I wasn't saying anything. I was just looking
I'm
at
scared of
you.
you.
Well, I'm pleased somebody is.
My van's outside and the engine's running.
Good.
So the People Select Committee, it's about the minutes and about councillors' names being mentioned. The Place Select Committee, 24th of January. And the same thing seemed to be rear on its head.
Councillor, I'm sorry. We're going through the accuracy of the meeting of the Borough Council.
But they're not going to be accurate if we don't agree that councillors' names are going to be mentioned or not mentioned. If I can just say
Right.
the paragraph, please.
That's just about the finer detail, councillor. Are you suggesting that the minutes of the previous council meeting are not accurate?
Clarity. Because anyone
No,
reading-
I'm asking you,
Yeah,
are you
because-
suggesting they're not?
What I'm getting at is a member of the public going on the council's website and looking at the minutes of the last meeting, they'll see that the words being across the chamber ensued. But all they can see is Robertson, right? Across the chamber means there was others. So what I'm saying is we need to agree, even for other discussions in full council, when these minutes are read by people next week, next year, next decade, 100 years time, they'll see which councillor spoke and which didn't. Please just say this paragraph from the Place Select and I'll sit down. And they're saying, another member noted a preference for names to be recorded against the comments in the minutes. The Strategy and Democracy Support Officer noted that a member could request to have their name recorded or against specific comments in the minutes. They stated that if members wish to have their names recorded through the entirety of the minutes, that this would need to be raised with the monitoring officer. And my final comment is, we are elected members. So the people here on the television or reading these minutes 6 months, 10 years time should be able to see which councillor spoke. A member is no good. We should all agree that when names go into the comments.
Right.
Thank you.
Legally, Councillor Robertson, I'm going to ask the monitoring officer to explain this to you. And that's for the benefit of the members of the public sitting in the public gallery and all those members of the public watching from home. Thank you, Ms Robertson. Would you like to explain that to Councillor Robertson?
The minutes are just a flavour of what's happened in the meeting. It isn't a verbatim report of everybody who says everything. And I think you will agree, Councillor Robertson, if we got into the sort of dynamic where every single thing by every single member, that could drive a certain particular behaviour as well about people wanting to speak and making sure that names were put into places. The reason that they're different for full council is because there's a question session in terms of questions being asked and needing to make sure that answers are given to those members. Where there's an action, particularly from the mayor, that's also reported. But otherwise, we just try and make sure that Democratic Services do a great job, I think, in just making sure that they're accurate. The level of detail that you require, I don't think is an appropriate level of detail for council minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms.
Thank you very
Robertson.
much.
So are the minutes of the meeting held on the 23rd of February 2023 accepted as a correct record?
Agreed.
Thank you, colleagues. We now move on to item 3 on this evening's agenda. The next item of business is the Mayor's announcements and communications. Colleagues, you will have all received a copy of the WASPI campaign letter received from Emma Llewellyn-Buck MP. I was asked to ensure that reference to this letter was included in my announcements at this Borough Council meeting. I can also advise that Kate Osborne MP has also raised the matter further with the Secretary of State for the Department of Work and Pensions. Colleagues, this will be the last meeting for some of our councillors here tonight, and I'm sure, along with myself, you will wish them well for the future. Thank you. Item 4 is to consider a report of South Tyneside Strategy Progress Update. The next item is from the Director of Governance and Corporate Affairs of South Tyneside Council, as I said, Strategy and Progress Update. I will ask Councillor Dixon, Leader of the Council, to formally move the report. Councillor Dixon.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. In November, after lots of consultation and evidence gathering, we set out a real clear long-term vision for South Tyneside to be a place where people live happy, healthy and fulfilled lives. As colleagues will remember, that guiding vision is underpinned by 5 core ambitions: for all residents to be financially secure, healthy and well, connected to jobs, part of stronger communities, and a firm commitment to target support to make things fairer. We then set out a clear plan, the council strategy, on what we would be doing over the next 3 years to make those core ambitions a reality for all people. Although our vision and strategy have only been in place for a few months, this report shows how much we have already delivered in such a short period of time. The report speaks for itself, but here are a few highlights. On our ambitions to support residents to be financially secure, we have helped set up a network of warm spaces for residents most affected by the cost of living crisis, brought together agencies and groups through a cost of living summit to take a joined up approach to help more people facing financial hardship, and through our welfare support service, helped residents to tackle debt and access £4.6 million in benefits that would have otherwise gone unclaimed. On our ambition for people to be healthy and well, we have secured £2.8 million to establish a network of family hubs across the borough, worked with service users to co-produce our refreshed Living Better Lives strategy, as well as our learning disabilities and autism plans. And we've invested £700,000 into Moncton Stadium. And on our ambition to connect local people to jobs and skills, We have continued to expand Pledge South Tyneside with upwards of around about 185 pledgees now signed up to increase local spend, recruitment and social action. Supported the local businesses and groups to access a share of almost £9 million in the UK shared prosperity funding, which will support the delivery of projects like the Care Academy. Engage businesses and residents in our South Shields conversation and planned further our Jarrow and our Hebburn conversations to shape the future of our town centres, and worked with regional colleagues to negotiate and consult on a £4.2 billion North East Evolution deal, which has the potential to unlock new funding, powers and opportunity for skills, transport and regeneration. And our ambitions to ensure people are part of strong communities. We have continued with our sustainability and environmental work, including our tree planting, our sector-led motion for the ocean work, and pressing on with the innovative renewable energy schemes in Jarrow, Hebburn and Holborn. Delivered improvements for our neighbourhoods, including installing 100 new bins in public areas and working with local groups to install accessible playground equipment, and continued with our much loved events programme, including drawing 6,000 visitors to our Christmas parade, 5,000 visitors to our Christmas light switch on events, and a record-breaking 15,000 people to our November firework displays. Finally, on our ambitions to target support to make things fairer, cutting across much of this work, we have focused on those groups needing extra support, providing additional help to parents with young children, to strengthening employment support for those recovering from substance misuse. All of that is just a snapshot of the work that we have been doing in the first few months of delivering our new vision and ambitions, and is on top of everything that we do every day. But essentially, responsibilities are with the local authority, from maintaining thousands of roads and footpaths to emptying millions of bins to helping adults to live independently with the right support, educating thousands of children and young people, and safeguarding vulnerable children from harm. Madam Mayor, I'm looking forward to sharing further updates on this exciting work over the coming months and years as we make excellent strides forward to delivering our vision for South Tyneside. Madam Mayor, I'd invite colleagues to note and endorse the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dixon. Is it seconded? Thank you, Councillor Ellison. Are there any questions, or does any member wish to speak to the report? Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Dixon, for the report today. I said it when the MTFP and related strategies were proposed in February, and I'll say it again. Thank you to everybody involved in the extensive work that's been done and in setting out our values and vision for the future. I suppose this report is our version of a State of the Union, a King's Speech, to evaluate where we are as a council and set out plans for the future. I've voiced concerns many times about our debilitating debt level. I will again today. The Labour group are largely responsible for many of our financial woes that hugely impact our council's strategies, projects and activities. If only they would own that and in some way face up to the situation, as in with what Councillor Milburn proposed in February's council, when requesting that a debt reduction plan should be incorporated into the Treasury management strategy as a matter of urgency. We need to look at this. I won't hold my breath. But looking to the future, as I said in February, I fully support the ambitions and the vision set out. But again, I will say, don't let these be just words. I don't have the luxury of 20 minutes to speak today, as I had with the budget. So I will focus on one particular area of concern. So often, public support and the public's engagement with our council is related to the perception our residents have in how fair and responsive we are as a council. In this context, I'm very pleased to see the strategic ambition for stronger communities and targeting support to make things fairer. There's a common denominator here in that all our communities in South Tyneside are linked to our community area forums. And a significant way of targeting support to our communities in a fairer way would be done through those community area forums. Can I ask a question today? Is the Labour group really committed to building stronger communities? Or is it what many fear, in that the Labour group priority is building a stronger Labour group? Because that's what I see now. When the ink isn't even dry yet on the Labour group declaration for building stronger communities, rumours are abound that making those communities stronger can wait until the Labour group disrupts and restructures our community area forums for their own political advantage and at the expense of those very communities we are supposed to be making stronger. What happened to connected communities, stronger communities, and making things fairer? I wonder. One step forward with words on paper from the Labour group, paying lip service to our residents, and then 2 steps back with actions that are a complete contradiction. Public won't be fooled by this. We all know actions speak louder than words. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Hetherington. I'm sorry, did you say point of order, Councillor Atkins? Point of note, Councillor Atkins.
Yeah, yes, it's
Sorry.
just the presentation that we've just heard, the report we just heard from the leader. You know, the response there from Councillor Thompson seemed to go off into the medium-term financial plan. And I'm just going to remind Councillor Thompson, he did have a great opportunity in February to put an alternative budget forward. We didn't get that. He had 20 minutes to speak then. We didn't get that. We got yet again rehashed, comments which we've heard yet again tonight, and we're going to get them. Let's be fair about it, as long as Councillor Thompson's in the chamber. So I would just make that point of note that this isn't about the MTFP. He's had that chance in February. He had that chance in February and he didn't take it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other councillors which wish to speak on this noted report? Councillor Hetherington.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to thank Councillor Dixon for the report also, and just to outline some of the work that is being done in my portfolio area of adult social care and public health. We all know that there's still a lot of work to do for our health outcomes and life expectancy within the population in South Tyneside, but we are making tremendous leaps forward in achieving this. Our health and wellbeing strategy and the ambitions within that have a focus upon safe and healthy places to live, learn and work, financial security and mental wellbeing and connectivity, as well as giving our children the best start in life. Our plans and the opportunities associated with it helps us build on our local ambition and working with our partners gain better insights into how we can do this. Our public health teams remain dedicated to developing the outcome framework for the health and wellbeing strategy to address some of the significant health inequalities across the borough and tailor resources to need by taking advantage of improved modelling and data to inform our work through population health management approaches. We know the importance of prevention when looking to improve health outcomes, and we have excellent examples of our work in South Tyneside, including reducing smoking in pregnancy. We know that there's more work to do to turn the tide, but this is achievable with commitment, and we are demonstrating this. We need to properly target our resources to focus upon prevention and activities supporting our prevent, reduce and delay strategy for adult social care. Improving health and care outcomes for our residents are all key features in our plans. The development of our Care Academy is an important part of this, and we need to build on the hugely successful health and social care exhibition held at Temple Park Leisure Centre on the 2nd of March. And we had a total of 230 people of all ages attended that exhibition. We had 50 organisations, including NHS, University of Sunderland, South Tyneside Council, and representatives from across the health and social care sector, all involved in that exhibition. There are opportunities linked to the use of technology, as well as thinking about how we work differently with our communities to ensure that we co-produce more solutions for the future with our residents. The work around our adult social care, health and wellbeing strategies, as well as our learning disability, autism and carer strategies all feature in this report. And I'm sure we can all agree this demonstrates a significant commitment from all parties to deliver better outcomes for our residents. But we all know there is still more that we can do to go further with this. And I'm sure we can all agree that the detail of this report demonstrates significant commitment from everyone to deliver better outcomes for our residents. And I'm delighted to support and commend this report to Council. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hetherington. Councillor Robertson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to read about 42 paragraphs, if that's all right. No, I'll just speak from the heart. Right. So, first of all, I'll repeat what I've said before, much to the dislike of certain people. I think Tracy Dixon's a great leader of the council. I've been on the wrong side. I've had my hand slapped at times on and off the record. And as in what could be leader, I'm really happy to work with Tracy. The other parts of it, well, I've got me different views. I do, you know, the different good things that's happening in the council. What we see, sadly, it is a little dig, but it's not a dig. A lot comes out in the period just before the elections, which everyone sort of clicks onto. But there is a hell of a lot of good things happening. There's a lot of things that we're still moan about and whinge about, and we will, right? So, great what's happening. When you mentioned before about the councillors that won't be here after this meeting, I do feel that there's some good councillors getting forced out that I know would want to stay and should be staying. In the future, this chamber and this council is having good councillors on both sides. With no poison and what have you, and things is changing, that slowly changing for the better, and people can see that. But seeing bloody good councillors being forced out isn't good. You know, there's good councillors getting forced out. So loud and clear, the good things that's happening, the debt, you know, supposedly we're bringing it down. I'm not even going to go into that. This section here, where it says supporting local food banks to continue to do the critical work they do, providing a further 118,000 of funding this coming year. That's excellent. And I was involved, like a lot of you were, in the food banks, in the struggle at the early part of the pandemic, before the pandemic, when the leaders' money of the opposition went to Heaven Helps, right? They've done wonders. The council staff, the councillors have all across the board done wonders. But when you see a figure like that, it needs, you know, the council needs to be advertising that fact, because a lot of people don't know how much the council is given, and they can be embarrassed going to the food banks and what have you. Now, 118,000 across X amount of food banks, a person might not feel so bad going for a bag of shopping because the councils give it. And I think the council needs to advertise that more. It's not a matter of bragging rights, it's making people feel comfortable. Now, on the downside of that, we swing away from that. And because of the research I've done, I've got it in black and white that we, this council, have given touching on £1 million to the Customs House. Now, I know the Customs House is great for South Tyneside and what have you, but during this pandemic 2 to 3 year, and even now the cost of living crisis, it isn't fair thinking that we can give nearly £1 million to the Customs House over 3 years, but 350,000 to food banks. We've got to balance it up the right way. But I repeat that again, the council needs to publicise what they're giving to the food banks so that it takes the embarrassment away from anyone that feels embarrassed, right? So...
Is that it, Councillor Robertson?
No, not much. There's not much more.
Well, you said 42 paragraphs, so I'm waiting.
No, not that much, honestly. So again, you know, loud and clear, it is going the right way, and Big Gob is prepared to say that. I can see it going the right way. I really can. But there's still things need to change across the board. With the officers and what have you, obviously there's been various things happened. Myself taken through the standards committee, and I thought, oh, well, I'm getting it because I've opened my mouth, I'm going to suffer. And I did think
Councillor Robertson, this is not relevant.
it's about improving the council. It is about improving the council, about fairness for people to see in that chamber on that television screen. Now, I thought that I was singled out for them 2 investigations and 2 standards committee hearings. And I did think the Mountain officer had went for me throat. But the most recent, without any names, the most recent report that's been done is demonstrated that the Mountain officer doesn't care whether it's Labour or independent. It's been a fair.
Sorry, Councillor Robertson, right? This is not relevant. You know, the monitoring officer is an employee of the council, and we shouldn't be attacking.
I'm not attacking.
No,
if you hear,
you've just said what you've just said, and everybody sitting in the public gallery, and sitting in the chamber.
I was just saying that she's done a fair investigation.
Please don't talk over me, Councillor Robertson. I'm trying to give you a fair opportunity to speak, but can you make your points relevant and succinct?
Right.
Thank you.
My point is that it should be fairness across the board, and that's now materialising. It is materialising slowly but surely. How councillors are treated.
Right. If you've got a genuine complaint, then, Councillor.
There's no complaint. It's full of love.
Well,
No
I'm sorry.
complaint there. That'll do. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor Robertson. Councillor Herbert.
Well, I'll keep this to 2 paragraphs because you want to get home tonight. There's some excellent ambitions and targets in the strategy, which I fully support. I note that paragraph 16 of the report refers to monitoring and reporting against the strategy and service plan. I welcome the introduction of a standardised approach to programme and project management, which I assume will measure progress against proposed key targets and milestones. This is vital in any strategy, and I'm sure we all look forward to receiving updates on the progress of the strategy at future council meetings.
Thank you, Councillor Herbert. Are the progress updates noted? I'm sorry, Councillor Dixon, would you like to speak and come back to answer? Most certainly.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. It was just really just to come back on just a couple of those comments. Obviously, with regard to the monitoring, Councillor Herbert, you can be guaranteed that there will be regular updates to council with regard to how we are performing against these ambitions. So thank you for that. Just with regard to Councillor Thompson, just coming back to Councillor Thompson, thank you very much for your comments, Councillor Thompson. I just want to really just give a little bit of reassurance to council and to the communities. It isn't lip service and it isn't just words. And I have just pulled out some of the highlights of what we've actually done over the last 4 months in particular. But what I just want to touch upon is we do work with our communities. Just recently, we've had our employee survey back as well, the second one, which we've had some excellent feedback from our employees. We've done business surveys. We will be doing a second one. We did our very first Ipsos Mori survey last year. We worked with our third sector. We worked with a small group with regard to the right equipment to locate in our parks for our young people. We've worked with our communities with the Cost of Living Summit, where we had 28 organisations who came, because it is important that we work with our communities, giving them the right support at such a critical time. So basically, Madam Mayor, I just wanted to say we do work with our communities. We do listen to our communities, which is why we are delivering so many different aspects with regard to our vision. So it isn't just lip service, it is factual that we are delivering, and we will continue delivering for our communities, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Dixon. Is the report noted? Thank you, colleagues. We now move on to item 5 on this evening's agenda. The next item of business is to consider a report of the Director of Governance and Corporate Affairs on Democracy, a Year of Action campaign. I will ask Councillor Joanne Bell, Lead Member for Governance, Finance and Corporate Services, to formally move the report. Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Colleagues, this report sets out the culmination of recent work to further promote and help residents engage in democracy. After all, this is the very reason we are all present in this chamber today. As the report outlines, a cross-council group has worked with myself as lead member, supported by the member champion for democratic engagement, Councillor Anne Best. As a result, we have developed a year-round campaign of events, activities and communications aimed at increasing awareness and interest in democracy for our residents. As a council, we have a long-standing record of promoting what was previously the European-led Local Democracy Week. Following the exit from the European Union and the challenges brought about during the COVID pandemic here in South Tyneside, we continued to deliver our own locally led programme of activity, moving to virtual events when we couldn't meet in person. One of the highlights of our programme is our work with our young people. To draw out just one example, Starryland is a much-loved event for our primary-aged pupils. We create an opportunity for pupils to attend this chamber and vote in a simulated election for the individual they believe has the best leadership traits. They listen to each other's manifestos, they hear and learn about positive and reasoned debate, and use real election methods and equipment. This year, we filled up places as soon as they were available. Just as our primary pupils do, we aim to promote democracy in a positive light, bringing to life the people behind the politics. This is not a political campaign, far from it. We want to focus on non-political aspects of democratic life, including opportunities to get involved. We also want to bring to life why people choose to get involved in democracy, with an aim of showing others why they might consider standing for office, for example, as a councillor or as a school governor, and the support that is in place for those who do so. Whilst we are passionate about reaching out to our young people, we are also keen to promote democracy with older residents, including making further information available about elections, such as how-to films, as well as promoting our day-to-day committees. There is much we want to do. Extending our programme of activity from 1 week to a year-round approach is only the start. We will listen to feedback from those involved in our forthcoming events and aim to strengthen our programme and reach more people, young and old, from a wide range of different backgrounds. The recommendation is set out in paragraph 24 of the report, and I would encourage Borough Council to show their support to our programme moving forward and to get involved as we seek to shape and strengthen it together in a very positive approach. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. Is that seconded? Thank you, Councillor Best. Are there any questions, or does any member wish to speak to the report? Councillor Best.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Bell. It's been a joy to work with such a positive, approach to the campaign design as we've moved on through various meetings. The initial approach that's just been outlined by Councillor Bell, it reinforces the fact that democracy isn't something that's added onto our agenda once a year, perhaps in ways that we've done in the past, and it should be embedded in everything that the council does on behalf of its residents. The work that will be done in the coming year will resume our journey of democratic renewal and engagement in the spirit of creating a welcoming, inclusive and non-partisan experience for residents of all ages and backgrounds. It will complement and take into account the daily work that's done right across the council in all of the departments, and it'll give residents a real and a very factual insight into the structures that we work within. I'm really hopeful that this will help to counteract any misconceptions about local governance and how it works by focusing on facts and it'll ask participants to experience the challenges faced by decision makers, encouraging local people to make informed choices about their own futures, whether that's getting involved in consultations, considering a career in local government, in terms of supporting or championing local issues, or knowing who to turn to for help, or even just deciding to cast a vote at an election. And I was talking to someone before this meeting about positivity. I think one of the key things for us as a borough is to engage that spirit of South Tyneside, for us to move together on this matter. And I hope all elected members can become involved in this campaign so we can actually work together on its delivery. Democracy brought us all to the chamber tonight, as Councillor Bell said, and I hope we can use that as a starting point for a great and united positive year of action. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Best. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Bell, for the report. Without doubt, there's some important and interesting work that has been done here, especially for me around reaching out to young people. And I look forward to seeing the detail of the programmes which have been indicated on in this report, and hopefully engaging if possible. So thank you to all involved. I do have to say, though, again, we see that familiar phrase, cross-service working group. Not what I would have liked to have seen. I would have liked to have seen this as work done by a cross-party working group. It seems the Labour group missed the irony of a campaign being put together on democracy whilst leaving out opposition involvement, which is nigh on 25% of our council. Not sure what form of democracy that is. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Francis.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I fully welcome this report and the work that's been done on it. And of course, it's the duty of all of us here to strengthen local democracy and make sure that our communities can have faith in local democracy in South Tyneside. Definitely welcome the year of democracy approach, because, as has been said, democracy is something we should be doing all day, every day, not just something that we think about for 1 week or 2 weeks through the year. And certainly it should be something that we think about in every meeting. And I wasn't planning to say this, but I would point out that that would include not objecting to the fact that democratically elected opposition members rightly exercise their democratic right to question, challenge, and hold the ruling group to account, something that we've already seen happen tonight, and we've seen happen in previous meetings on a number of occasions with spurious points of order, interruptions, and so on. Point 16 in the report says, it talks about, providing committee chairs with information on how they can present every meeting as an opportunity to positively raise the profile of local democracy and resident engagement. And I look forward to seeing that develop. Obviously, I'm not just talking about full council, but all of the committee meetings that happen in the community area forum meetings as well. And I think that's really key, particularly with the community area forum meetings. In the timeline that's presented here, the sort of month-by-month breakdown, it says in December, delivering on our ambitions, achievements of the whole council over the year. And at the risk of stating the obvious, we are the council. All of us sat here tonight are members of the council. And obviously in the council's social media and in the quarterly magazine that goes out to residents, those things often focus on lead members as the face of various achievements and things that have been implemented. So I'd be keen to see that broadened to reflect the fact that, as Councillor Thompson says, nearly a quarter of the council members are actually opposition councillors, and their work for their communities should also be celebrated and highlighted. I'm pleased to see the importance of children and young people mentioned here in South Tyneside Young People's Parliament. And I just had one simple question, which is, do we currently have a specific consultation session with the South Tyneside Young People's Parliament with regard to the council's budget each year? I know some other local authorities do that. I'm not aware if that happens here or not.
Thank you, Councillor Francis. Councillor Robertson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I may not have heard properly earlier when you were talking about this, but can I ask, is there any of the local MPs being involved in this or getting invited to be involved in it? Anybody answer? I don't know. Point number 2, Councillor Francis has just referred to a number there. Well, people watching on the television or what have you won't know what paragraph 14 or paragraph 2 is. So on section 2 here, it says the group has benefited from elected member involvement, including cabinet members supported by member champion for democratic engagement. Now, again, my concern there is, has any of the opposition councillors been involved in this? Because we can't be introducing this to these people and not only meeting Labour councillors or Labour, you know, it's got to be other people that are meeting from other parties. Yeah. I'd like an answer to them questions that I'm pointing out there. And then paragraph 14, it says, a year of action campaign will include non-political features on cabinet members, which will include an opportunity to describe cabinet portfolios, as well as bringing to life personal stories, including why they chose to get into politics. At other points, bringing the personal story, why they chose to get into politics. At other points in the campaign, similar communications will focus on the roles of ward councillors, including from a range of political parties, although content will be non-political in brackets, and members with a role in scrutiny or other identified committees. Again, what is the plans for all councillors to be involved rather than these people only meeting Labour councillors? It's not a dig, it's a serious concern. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Robertson. Councillor Bell, would you like to come back to that?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah. Starting with Councillor Thompson, I think what you've got to realise is that this is non-political. It was a project, the first time that officer teams have worked directly with both a member champion and a lead member. The champion role in particular was to support me as the lead member with key areas of importance and to get ideas from a backbencher member. It's culminated in a proposal to include members from across the floor, as outlined at paragraph 14 of the report. We are just embarking on a year's programme of activities, and it will include every council member, whether you are from our party, your party, whatever. It will include all members. And that's also the same for Councillor Robertson. There were no opposition members involved because it only involved Councillor Best and myself. We haven't opened it up because we were working with officers to come up with a programme that is a moving document. There will be changes to it throughout the year. There will be additions to it throughout the year as we move through it. The local MPs have not been involved because this is a council project and programme, not an MP or a government one. And for Councillor Francis, I have to be honest, we haven't involved the Youth Parliament to that extent with regards to the budget, but it is something that we can take forward and look at definitely. But the young people have been heavily involved in our democracy activities over the year and will be geared for and catered for over this year in action, as will all of our residents and every council member. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. Is the report noted?
Can I speak, Madam Mayor?
No, I'm sorry, you don't have the right to reply, Councillor. You've already spoken once. Is the report noted? Thank you, colleagues. We now move on to item 6. The next item of business is to consider a report of the Director of Governance and Corporate Affairs on the cost of living response update. I will ask Councillor Ruth Barclay, lead member for the Voluntary Sector, Partnerships and Equalities, to formally move the report. Councillor Barclay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to provide members with an update on the work undertaken to support residents through the cost of living crisis. Helping our residents through this really difficult time and tackling entrenched poverty has been key priorities for me as the lead member, for leadership, the Cabinet and for members across the Chamber. It builds on the considerable work that has been undertaken by members and officers in exploring these often very deep-rooted issues. And it has been a strategic choice to do so. That is why enhancing financial security is embedded at the heart of the refreshed South Tyneside vision, the new council strategy and the investment decisions in the medium-term financial plan agreed by Council 2 weeks ago. Therefore, the report before you provides an overview of the issues impacting our residents, particularly those on low incomes, on benefits and in single parent households. It describes what the council and partners have done in the spirit of collaboration and partnership since the last update at full council in November, and outlines our plans moving forward. We have taken real practical action across 5 core areas. These were the 5 key themes that emerged from the Cost of Living Summit in October. Firstly, we have improved our understanding of the issues impacting our residents in order to help guide our response. This includes a monthly intelligence report and a platform to share information between partners. Secondly, we have directly supported communities by facilitating nearly 70 warm spaces, increased hardship support, providing council tax discounts, and targeting investments to help low-income pensioners and families, particularly over the school holidays. In December, 450, and in January, 400 accessed warm space venues. Thirdly, so residents know where to go for support, we have created a single web page, which has had 30,000 hits, a support directory, and rolled out campaigns on benefits, damp and mold, and illegal money laundering and money lending. Fourthly, we have increased access to services by investing in the welfare support team, who have helped residents access 5 million in benefits, funding our food banks and matching experts to warm spaces. Finally, it is vital that we raise the disproportionate effect the cost of living crisis is having upon South Tyneside. Subsequently, we have written to ministers and the Chancellor, met with energy companies, worked with our food banks to highlight issues, and engaged with neighbouring councils. We have welcomed the work of our MPs, Key to Life and Feeding Britain on a food bus. But there is much more that we want to do and need to do. We are pushing on with action which can continue to support our residents. They include evaluating warm spaces, rebanding to remove any stigma, and considering how we build on these as key community hubs over the summer and into next winter. Continuing to work with schools on poverty proofing, exploring options around free school meals and help on uniform costs. Funding the expansion of community pantries and food projects, and investing in capacity within the council to help partnership working. Rolling out a campaign on pension credit to increase the number of pensioners accessing this. Currently, only a third who are eligible apply. Targeting energy efficiency support programs such as Eco4 and Healthy Homes at the most disadvantaged areas of the borough. Holding a further summit to learn from our work so far and the excellent partnership working and plan for next winter. Supporting the Children's Society letter to the Chancellor to make the Household Support Fund permanent in this month's budget. But we know that there is no such thing as a short-term quick fix solution to reduce and end poverty. We will therefore continue to use our refreshed vision to boost prosperity over the longer term and connect people to jobs. This includes nurturing key industries, reducing barriers to employment, listening to our residents, evaluating key schemes, and maximising the opportunity of devolution. We remain committed to working in partnership to do everything we can to help residents through the cost of living crisis and to reduce poverty in the borough so that all our residents can live healthy, happy, and fulfilled lives. Thank you, and I'd invite colleagues to note and endorse this report. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Barclay. Is that seconded? Thank you, Councillor Hetherington. Are there any questions, or does any member wish to speak to the report? Thank you, Councillor McEwen.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank everyone for all of the hard work done on this. These are, as we know, very challenging economic times, not least for the residents of South Tyneside. And tackling inequality is something that I am really passionate about. And not for a long time has inequality been so apparent in our country and in our local area. I'm particularly pleased to see the development of the Warm Spaces initiative that we raised. It's been really well supported and taken forward, and hopefully is making a real difference, a real practical difference to residents. I do note in particular the concern for those families that are in work on low incomes that don't qualify for government support. This is exactly the reason I was concerned about the rise in council rent mentioned in the last meeting, which we now know, just for clarity, is set at the council's discretion and not imposed by central government. It's already been found that some of the residents, our residents, are not managing to pay their rent in the current circumstances. So I hope that as a council, we can work together to support those people financially with those rises. I was also very pleased to see some support at long last for the universal basic income, which has been a flagship policy for the Green Party for a number of years, and it's nice to see eventually other parties starting to listen. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McEwen. Any other member wish to speak? Councillor Robertson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Excellent report. Thank you very much. It's good reading, and obviously lots of hard work gone into it. Paragraph 21, financial value and money implications. Senior officers from across the council, including from finance, have been engaged in the work. The medium-term financial plan sets out provision for anti-poverty strategy officers 2023-24 to help boost capacity within the council in partnership to coordinate and drive more work in this area. So thank you to the senior officers as well, because obviously they're tapping into the funding. So very good with that. Paragraph 13, to work with the communities, we will work with schools to consider how to boost free school meals and fund the expansion of community pantries, etc., which has just been read out. That's great, and obviously desperate for the free school meals. Paragraph 14, to signpost residents to support, we will launch a campaign with voluntary sector partners to increase the take-up of pension credit support and Key to Life's community food bus. I didn't know about that. I'd like to know what areas it covers, and is there a food bus going to cover the areas that's not covered, So, and the last one is paragraph 15, to enable increased access to services and further coordination. We will continue to fund our food banks. And I'm just going to repeat it. People don't know, Lady Mayor, it needs publicised what the council's putting in these food banks, and they'll not be embarrassed going for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Robertson. Does any other member wish to speak? No. Does the council note and endorse the work undertaken on the responding to the cost of living crisis and support the continued work in this area to ensure council remains committed to tackling poverty and making things fairer? Is that report agreed? Thank you, colleagues. We now move on to item 7. The next item of business is to consider a report of the Director of Regeneration and Environment on an ocean recovery declaration. I will ask Councillor Melling, lead member for Economic Growth, Skills and Climate Change, to formally move the... Sorry, I've got down here Councillor Melling. I'm sorry. Councillor Gibson, could you formally move the report?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Thank you. In January last year, we were the first North East Council and local authority to make an ocean recovery declaration through the motion of the ocean. The action contained within the ocean recovery declaration focused on minimising the impact of our ocean. Its commitment to the council taking continued action would enable us to empower and inspire local communities and businesses to do the same. As part of the declaration, the council has committed to providing an annual update of progress the ocean recovery, and the report runs through the actions against the 9 pledges. I am pleased to tell you that we are leading the way in this area and making this declaration happen. We are involved in various initiative projects and partnership working, including Regional Stronger Shores, which South Tyneside Council leads on. This involves restoring marine habitat such as kelp, seagrass, and looking how to protect our coastal communities from the impact of climate change and erosion. We are partners of Seascape Scheme, which is helping us understand and consider ocean recovery, as well as establishing an ocean recovery plan. We are working with marine schools and South Tyneside College to continue to promote marine and maritime and blue carbon training. Over the coming year, we will be working with eco schools to encourage schools to sign up within this programme. This is a marine topic which will be promoting the forms of parts of wide piece of works with schools embedded in natural environment and sustainability within the curriculum. The eco schools work with early years, primary and secondary schools, including year 12 and 13, which ranges from 3 to 18-year-olds. The Blue Future programme is the collaboration with the University of Sunderland, Seascape and South Tyneside Council. It will result in an exhibition exploring our relationship with water and will help to grow ocean literacy and marine citizenship per pledge. The Blue Futures exhibition will be at the Word in July and November in 2023. This will link with the Year of the Coast 2023. The Year of the Coast is something we are driving nationally from the LGA Coastal SIG interest group to celebrate the coast. In South Tyneside, we have a communication strategy to support this campaign this year. South Tyneside Festival Parade will carry the coastal theme. There is a lot of positive work happening around our ocean recovery. We should be proud that we are leading the way nationally. It's like the Stronger Shores project will influence national policy and recovery policy in the future. The Coastal SIG is also lobbying government on recovery ocean, marine habitat and coastal matters on behalf of the coastal communities, including South Tyneside. This work is complemented in the new strategy and ambition promoting the green and blue agenda, creating a healthy place to live through work, nature-based solutions, coastal recovery, but also the environment of careers opportunity locally. The work I have mentioned is very positive, and I'd like to celebrate the achievements and thank officers and members for their support and continued hard work. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Gibson. Is that seconded?
Yes.
Thank you, Councillor Melling. Are you wishing to speak, Councillor Melling?
Yes, sorry.
Now or at the end after the debate?
No, I'll do it now, thank you. I would like to thank Councillor Gibson for his update on our actions against the Ocean Recovery Declaration and celebrate what we have achieved so far. I'm very pleased to see all of the work we're doing to engage with our communities, including schools and colleges, as these children and young adults are our future and are vital in growing ocean literacy and marine citizenship in South Tyneside. I would like to refer to the Climate Change Toolkit, which was launched last year with our schools and is a fantastic resource which advises schools on ways in which they can be more sustainable. It covers a range of topics, including carbon reduction, biodiversity, waste and adaptation. We're also working with eco schools, which complements the toolkit. I welcome the opportunities Equinor and Scottish and Southern Electric are providing in STEM subjects such as science, technology, engineering and mathematics in South Tyneside, linked to their offshore wind and marine base at the Port of Tyne and their work with local schools. The Year of the Coast presents a good opportunity to engage with community groups and businesses on protecting our ocean and the many benefits it brings. I'd also like to champion the Stronger Shores project, which will provide a better understanding of the Blue Agenda and the opportunities for the borough in terms of coastal protection, carbon reduction, and improved biodiversity. Partnership working and collaboration can be seen throughout the report, and this is key to delivering our ocean recovery and climate change objectives, along with securing a place where people live
happy, healthy and fulfilled lives. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Melling. Are there any questions or does any member wish to speak to the report? Councillor Stonehouse.
Thank you, Councillor Gibson, for that report, and Councillor Melling. Just one thing on pledge 9.3334. You said that you had written to the Secretary of State in 22. Has there been any feedback from the Secretary of State?
We are still waiting at the reply.
Right, thank you.
Thank you, councillor Stonehouse. Councillor Herbert.
It's good that South Tyneside Council has recognised the value of the ocean in helping us to meet our climate change commitments and its ecological value. There's some great pledges and ambitions in this, but we need some actual targets and monitoring that can be reported back to council to see if things are actually improving. I look forward to attending the climate change workshop with a dedicated section on ocean recovery to enable a climate-first approach to be adopted to all council decisions. The elephant in the room, or it might be a whale, is that there's sewage and its effects on the ocean. This is not mentioned in the report. The council pledges to consider ocean recovery in all its strategic decisions, plans, budgets, and particularly in planning. This seems to have been ignored when approval for the Clean Lane development was given with 200 houses and resulting sewage that would be produced. The draft local plan stated that local authorities should not allow a development to proceed unless satisfied there is adequate capacity to treat sewage. Now, there's ample evidence that has been provided to show that there's not sufficient sewage treatment with Northumbrian water, but developments will still get approved. One of the biggest sources of sewage and pollution in the ocean in South Tyneside is the Whitburn outflow pipe. Now, the Whitburn stormwater interceptor tunnel is being used to store foul sewage water in dry weather, which is not currently permitted by the Whitburn discharge permit. This flushes foul untreated sewage into the sea. This pollution is destroying the marine environment and is a public health hazard. Now, Northumbrian Water are making an application to allow more connections to this tunnel to accommodate housing developments in Whitburn, Clevedon and East Bowland. The more connections mean more foul sewage with more discharges into the sea at Whitburn. Northumbrian Water should be made to increase their sewage treatment capacity rather than flush sewage into the sea. Now, as local authorities are limited to what they can do, the only way forward is to call for the application to be to call in the application and request a public inquiry into the Whitburn and Hendon sewage system. Sunderland City Councils have already done this, and South Tyneside Council should do the same. The leader of the council is sending letters to the government requesting them to act. Can a letter be sent to ask for a public inquiry on this?
Thank you, councillor Herbert. Councillor Foster.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I'm sure Councillor Gibson's not surprised I'm on my feet on this one. I'd like to thank Councillors Mellon and Gibson for this report and then sincere and honest intentions and the obvious hard work that they put in and the motivation they have to succeed in this charter. However, unless all councillors have the same intentions, I fear part of this report is nothing but a paper exercise. To read it what I go what Councillor Herbert said, and I was there at the planning committee on the 13th of February this year. Can somebody explain to me which part of pledge 2 was applied? And I'll quote the pledge. The council pledged to consider ocean recovery in all strategic decisions, plans, budgets, and approaches to decisions by the council, particularly in planning, regeneration, skills, and economic policy. End of quote. Despite the pledge, 202 dwellings were approved for development on Clean Lane Industrial Estate. The committee heard evidence from Mr. Bob Latimer, who has campaigned for over 20 years to stop sewage being dumped in the North Sea. And it's a fact, and it's a figure I've quoted in this chamber before. 820,000 tonnes of untreated sewage entered the North Sea from Whitburn pumping station alone in 2021. Yet despite hearing that and other evidence, Also, the contamination of the land itself and possible consequences to local waterways. Approval was voted. All Labour councillors present on the committee voted for. The 2 independent councillors and single Green Party councillor on the committee objected. It was mentioned by the councillor who proposed the plan at the meeting that about the cosmetic impact and how that area would be improved. Not a whisper about the sewage generated by the development, which would enter the sea in this broken part of the system, responsible for the discharge of untreated sewage at Whitburn and along the coast in Sunderland. I'm sure when I sit down at some point, I'll be told how well the council are doing. Since that committee meeting, I've made contact with our Director of Public Health, Mr. Hall, who is preparing a response to us regarding his professional opinion on the possible consequences to public health should this development go ahead. But the question I'd like answered is which part of Pledge 2 was considered at the Planning Committee on the 13th of February? And if the committee did consider the pledge, why did they vote to agree to the development on that day and not to defer the decision until further evidence and to clarify certain points had been made? Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Foster. Councillor Roberts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Gibson, for that report. As we keep on hearing all the time about the sewage going into sea, there's one thing that you keep missing out in your report every time you come and talk about your report. And I think it's been mentioned in here before with yourself, Madam Mayor, with the children in here. I think there was a child come in here and asked you exactly the same thing as what I'm going to say now. What's happening with the goldfish? Nobody hears about these goldfish anymore now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Councillor Robertson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Foster's just mentioned the Director of Public Health there. I had a half an hour talk to Bob Latimer a few weeks ago when I was in his shop getting some prawns. And he took us and looked on his computer and showed us different things. And to be honest, I'm absolutely shocked that the Director of Public Health hasn't been right at the forefront of this with this human waste. It's just unbelievable. And separate to that fact, I'm led to believe that these houses were proposed by councillors who live 5 miles away. Well, that's all right. Not in my backyard. Not in my backyard. But human waste is an absolute disgrace. And it's getting silenced and it's getting glorified and covered in flowers. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Robertson. Councillor Gibson. Sorry, Councillor Dixon, I didn't see you. Would you like to come in on that?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I must just be hidden behind you because you're not seeing me.
Right,
Just following on, obviously, from Councillor Herbert and Councillor Stonehouse, there was a letter sent, which Councillor Gibson's touched upon, back in December to the Secretary of State for the Environment, and we are awaiting the response, but there was a couple of asks, which I will just put in here. We asked for an update on the marine policy statement and request that the National Ocean Recovery Strategy is produced. So we haven't had any response back. There's a surprise that we haven't had anything back through yet, but hopefully we will in the coming weeks. But following on from that, I will not discuss planning applications or the outcomes of planning applications, but I did receive, along with the lead member, a number of emails with regard to concerns with regard to the Whitburn outturn. And I just want to give council some reassurance that letters have been sent to Sir James Bevan, who is the Chief Executive of the Environment Agency, along with the Secretary of State for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, Theresa Coffey. So just to give some reassurance, that has been followed up from the letter that was sent in December. And there's also been a follow-up letter sent back on the 22nd of February, Madam Mayor. So just to say for clarity, we have sent quite a firm letter requesting some answers and the process to be looked at on behalf of our residents, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Dixon. Councillor Gibson, did you want to come back?
Madam Mayor, just wanted to say a small amount regarding to mention about the water quality and about Northumberland Water. Northumberland Water is prepared to meet members, to give members comms in the very near future. So that will be arranged in due course, and we will come back to you when that is available. they are offering to answer questions or any of your concerns raised, because they feel that a number, you mentioned 821,000 tonnes of sewage, raw sewage, they dispute that. That is one of the things they are disputing, but they're also saying they don't measure the outfall in tonnage, which is incorrect. But they're quite prepared. If you come along to that members' comms in the near future, you can ask them all the questions you wish. It has got to be questions. It won't be, you know, attack Northumberland Water. It'll be the relevant questions to help your residents.
Is Bob Latimer invited?
Thank you, Councillor Dixon.
Is
Excuse
Bob
me.
Latimer invited?
Excuse me. Excuse me. If you want to speak, can you please just come through me if you want to speak and raise your hand. Thank you, Councillor Robertson. Do members note the report and support the Ocean Recovery Declaration? The recommendation is agreed. Thank you. We now move on to item 8 on this evening's agenda. It's to consider a report of the Director of Regeneration and Environment on an ecological emergency declaration. I will ask Councillor Kilgour, the Chair of the Place Select Committee, to formally move the report. Councillor Kilgour.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's difficult to say an ecological emergency. A motion to declare an ecological emergency was presented to full council last February by Councillor Francis. However, it was agreed that a detailed analysis was needed in order that we could agree a way forward in that we could deliver. This was referred to Place Select Committee, as you've mentioned, Madam Mayor. Upon initial consideration, this led to the formation of a cross-party ecological emergency working group, which has provided direction and confirmed our approach. I'd like to thank the members and the officers of that group, amounting to very collegiate and constructive workshops, of which there were 4. This shaped the final ecological emergency declaration, which was presented in January's Place Select Committee meeting. The evidence is clear that the planet is experiencing an ecological crisis, and we are facing a decline in nature and biodiversity all around us. We are affected greatly as we rely on nature to provide us with clean air, clean water, pollination and food. Therefore, restoring nature is critical and action is needed now on a local level, a level on which we can make a difference. It is proposed that Council makes an ecological emergency declaration and commits to our needs. I'll run through the key points of the declaration. The Council resolves to declare an ecological emergency, to set up an ecological emergency working group, and the reason that this needs to be separate to the climate emergency working group is that they are both too important to merge. And albeit they do complement each other, it is important that we look at them in great detail separately. To incorporate ecological implications into committee and council reports, to conduct a cross-service review, ensure that all council strategic decisions, policies and strategies consider and maximise nature recovery. Commit to positive actions for biodiversity protection, enhancement and recovery. To maximise partnership working opportunities and linking in with our voluntary sector who already make us very proud. Develop member champions for biodiversity. Increase eco-literacy across South Tyneside, not just in our schools. There's an action to lobby government and to report progress to full council annually. An action plan is attached to the report, which will guide how we will achieve the declaration. There are also a number of emerging statutory and regulatory changes resulting from the implementation of the Environment Act 2021, which complement the ecological emergency.
I'm sorry, Councillor Kilgour. Councillor Robertson, you're causing a disturbance and some councillors can't hear. Would you mind not ripping the pages out your book while somebody's talking? Thank you.
It's no problem, Madam Mayor. Thank you very much. There are also a number of emerging statutory and regulatory changes resulting from the implementation of the Environment Act 2021, which complement the Ecological Emergency Declaration and support nature recovery. The benefits of the borough's nature or the natural environment are vast and wide-ranging, from a reduction in carbon emissions to surface water management and a reduction in air pollution. Investing in nature also contributes significantly to the improved health and well-being of our communities and helps us deliver economic benefits by way of new jobs, green and blue tourism opportunities. We are not too late to reverse the decline in nature, and this declaration is positive and a positive step towards achieving this in South Tyneside. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kilgour. Is that seconded? Thank you, Councillor Robertson. Are there any questions, or does any member wish to speak to the report? Councillor Melling.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to support the Ecological Emergency Declaration and thank members of the cross-party Ecological Emergency Working Group, which was set up by the Place Select Committee. How good it is to see cross-party working. It is important that this area of work is given the attention it requires, and the declaration will certainly be impactful if approved. Councillor Kilgour has mentioned emergent statutory and regulatory changes, and I want to expand on this as there are major changes that will have a positive impact on the nature recovery locally. The Environment Act 2021 introduces legislation that will improve air and water quality, tackle waste, increase recycling, halt the decline of species, and improve our natural environment. Not a lot there then. The Act includes the following 3 obligations for local authorities that complement the Ecological Emergency Declaration and support nature recovery. A strengthened duty on public authorities to conserve and enhance biodiversity. 2, the introduction of local nature recovery strategies, which are a new approach designed to drive more coordinated, practical, and focused action to improve nature. And the introduction of mandatory biodiversity net gain for all new developments. This will require planning applicants to deliver a minimum 10% of measurable gain in biodiversity above the baseline. This area of work is developing at pace, with implementation of these new statutory requirements happening at the end of this year. The Ecological Emergency Declaration comes at the right time as it complements national direction from government and focuses our actions on delivering for the benefit of nature. Locally, it supports the Council's new vision and strategy through the Strong Communities ambition, where we have committed to support green and sustainable choices and behaviours and connection to the natural environment. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Melling. Is the report noted in... I'm sorry, Councillor Francis. Councillor Guy, sorry, I didn't see you. Councillor Guy first, then Councillor Francis.
Thank you very much, sir. I would just like to thank my colleagues for preparing this motion, the original motion, but also for the Place Select cross-party ecological emergency declaration, got it out there, for not only, the spirit towards the issue, but also, a deep willingness to find solutions to the problem. And I hope we can all agree to this. I'm going to try and say it again, ecological emergency declaration. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Guy. Councillor Francis.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Personally, I'm really pleased to see this come back to full council tonight. And as we heard in the preamble, that this was the consequence of a motion to full council just over a year ago that's then been referred to the Place Select Committee and worked on. And obviously, we're talking about the ecological emergency here, and the clue's in the name. Time is of the essence. So initially, I was disappointed to see it referred, but I'm delighted to see it come back here tonight and having had the chance to work on it. And it's worth mentioning, we've heard talk about a decline in nature and biodiversity, but what we're actually talking about is the 6th great extinction in the history of the planet. and the only one that's been largely caused by the activity of one species, that species being us, the human race. And so I just wanted to just say that because that's how important this is, and that's how key it is that the human race takes action to reverse that. It's been really productive to be part of the cross-party working group and to work alongside colleagues, Councillor Guy, obviously Labour colleagues, and importantly the council staff to get to the point that we are tonight. And obviously also the thing that we didn't have last year when we talked about this, begin to work on the action plan of how this all actually will all start to take shape. So I really hope all councillors here can get behind this tonight, so we do our bit in tackling the 6th great extinction and play our role taking vital action for nature recovery. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Francis. Councillor Hetherington.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you to Councillor Kilgour and Councillor Melling and all of those who were involved in the working group. I just have 2 asks, please, in this. Could I first ask that when the working group sets about their action plan, that they identify some of our valuable urban woodland, our nature reserves, and include those in their action plans, and specifically some actions around those areas, because these are vital areas to South Tyneside. They provide us with open spaces and activity centres, but more importantly than that, they're also vital habitats for our wildlife, for our insect life and our bird life, and they also provide vital wildlife corridors. And could I also ask, please, that when you are looking at the working group, could you please also seek the voices of our very important voluntary groups? We have lots of friends groups around South Tyneside, so it's essential that their voices are also heard so that we can make sure that we have a truly co-produced action plan for saving, and I won't try and say alert the emergency, it's just a working group to look at the ecology for South Tyneside. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hetherington. Anyone else? No? Is the report noted, and do council agree to declare the ecological emergency declaration and agree the associated action plan?
Agreed.
Thank you, colleagues. The action is agreed. We now move on to item 9. The next item of business is to receive questions under Council Procedure Rule 8. One question has been received under this rule from a member of the public on behalf of Keep Our NHS Public North East and Save South Tyneside Hospital campaign. And the question is printed in the council agenda. Mrs. Nettleship will receive a written response to her question within 7 days of this meeting. The question and answer provided will be added to the questions book open to the public for inspection at the reception of the town hall. Sorry, Councillor Thompson.
Madam Mayor.
Point of information.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, in relation to our constitutional and public questions in 8.3, in 8.1.2 it states, if the Mayor is satisfied that a question raises a matter which requires a more urgent response from the Council, he or she may require a verbal response to be given at the Council meeting. Of course, urgent, subjective to each individual question from the public. I just wanted it noted that we never give a verbal response at a council meeting. I think sometimes the public would benefit from verbal responses when we meet here. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. That would be noted, Councillor Thompson, but I did give it due consideration and a written response will be given to Mrs. Nettleship within 7 days. We now move on to item 10. The next item of business is to deal with petitions received under Council Procedure Rule 9. None have been received. In accordance with the Council's Procedure Rule 9.14, the Director of Regeneration and Environment has provided an update on the action taken in respect of 2 petitions received by Council at its meeting on the 24th of November 2022. I will ask Councillor Dixon to formally move the updated report. Councillor Dixon.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Colleagues, this report provides an update on the actions that has been taken in respect of the 2 petitions which were presented to full council at a meeting on the 24th of November 2022. This satisfies the requirements of Council Procedure Rule 9.14. Madam Mayor, I move the report and ask colleagues to note the content of the report for information, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Dixon. Is that seconded? Thank you, Councillor Robertson. Are there any questions or does any member wish to speak to the report? Councillor Strike.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Was just really to welcome the council's response with regard to disco fields. It's going to be looked at, the council are going to be speaking with Fields in Trust to see if this is a worthy sort of project to take forward. So hopefully it will be, and I just welcome the response from the council on behalf of the petitioners and the residents of Bolton. The lead petitioner being Mr. Howe, who put a lot of work into this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Strike. Is the report noted? Thank you, colleagues. We now move on to item 11. The next item of business is to receive motions under Council Procedure Rule 10. 4 motions are to be considered under this rule today. I will explain the procedure for the motions. I will ask the proposer of each motion to move the motion, and he or she may speak for up to 5 minutes. I will then ask whether the motion is seconded. The seconder may speak up to 3 minutes or reserve the right to speak later in the debate. The motion then will be open to debate by members who may each speak for up to 3 minutes and may move amendments. Any amendments must be relevant to the motion. Only one amendment will be moved and discussed at any one time. If the motion is not carried, other amendments to the original motion may be moved. If an amendment is carried, the motion as amended takes the place of the original motion and becomes a substantive motion to which any further amendments are moved. Motion 1. Motion 1 has been submitted by Councillors Hetherington, Carter, Best, Steve Dean, Paul Dean, A. Walsh, Barclay, Ellison and Porthouse. Councillor Hetherington, please present the motion to full council.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, colleagues. As you can see in the motion, all of the necessary detail is there, so I don't intend to go through and repeat statistics to you. We're all acutely aware of the pressures that our precious health service faces daily and the stress that this places on its dedicated staff. So I'm certain, colleagues, you will join me and agree that it's not enough to come out and clap just for our colleagues as we did every Thursday night through the pandemic. It's time to stand with them and say that enough is enough. And rather than eroding hard fought for employment rights with anti-strike legislation, we should be focusing on having minimum care standards and the staffing levels that is needed to go with them. We need to support our health service workers now with a decent pay deal and properly funded health and care systems to ensure that it is a service fit for the 21st century and beyond. It's our health service and it must remain so, and for the benefit of the people of this country. So colleagues, I commend this motion to you and I'm sure that you will give it your full support. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hetherington. Is the motion seconded?
Seconded, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Carter. The motion is now open to debate by members. Do any members wish to ask questions, speak or move an amendment to the motion? Councillor Foster.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Taking into account this evening, a few hours ago, we awarded the great honour of the freedom of the borough to NHS workers. It may well have been easier for me, as the lone Conservative in this chamber, just to sit down, say nothing and agree to the motion. But I feel obliged to share my thoughts and observations with the chamber, as I say, being the lone Conservative. Everyone in the country should respect our NHS, and I certainly do. And who wouldn't want to give the NHS a huge pay rise? But unfortunately, it will have to be a fair, affordable pay rise. Due to partially the world events and particularly financial times for all, but inflation busting unfunded pay rises potentially could make a difficult situation worse. For 30 years, I was a police officer. I was at the receiving end of some pretty grubby pay deals. We obviously couldn't strike, but in 2012, I wore a white baseball cap with the logo Fair Play for Police and went to London along with 20,000 other off-duty police officers to march through the capital to protest about a pay deal that was on the table at the time. My wife was a staff nurse and sister at Sunderland Royal Hospital for 40 years. So I think I'm well qualified to say I get the frustration. I think I'm qualified to say that. I've been there. I don't want to see our NHS having to go out and strike. Pay deals have always been settled around a table, not a picket line. Strikes cost the workers money from loss of earnings. It doesn't cost their union leaders anything, they still get paid. Workers should always have the right to withdraw their labour, but it should be an absolute last port of call when everything else has failed. I fully support the motion. I hope that collective pressure means that NHS staff and others get a pay deal that they are satisfied with, and of course the country can afford. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Foster. Councillor Francis.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Absolutely support NHS and in fact other key workers as well in their fight for adequate pay that recognises the vital work they do and have done in extremely challenging circumstances, and pay that keeps pace with the rapidly rising cost of living. We've already heard tonight in the meeting immediately before this one, praise and support rightly given to those people, NHS staff alongside care staff, key workers, school, police, blue light services. And we'll all remember that in 2020, we were encouraged to get out on our doorsteps and clap. But you can't pay your bills with applause. You can't put food on the table with applause. And some NHS and other key workers have had to resort to using food banks in recent years just to put food on the table so they've got something to eat at the end of a long shift. That is indefensible. Back in 2020, we had eat out to help out. You could get government subsidized cheeky Nando's if you wanted, but we're now saying there's not enough money to pay the staff who saved lives and continue to save lives and care for our communities. I'm more than happy with the resolutions presented here. Council resolves to encourage elected members to show solidarity with striking NHS workers. Hopefully we're already doing that, but fine to have it enshrined in writing. Number 2, asking the leader of the council to write to MPs to engage with them to show full support for our beleaguered NHS. I understand that both the local MPs have done that and they should be applauded for doing so. And thirdly, ask the leader to raise this directly with the relevant secretaries of state and call for them to properly support our vital public services. 100% agree with that as well. However, I can't help but wonder, given that this motion's come from Labour councillors, whether they might also wish to lobby their own party's leader, Keir Starmer, who refused to back the striking NHS workers and reportedly instructed their front benchers to stay away from picket lines. That said, what we're here to do tonight is what we've got control over in this room, and I would absolutely urge all colleagues to vote for this motion tonight.
Thank you, Councillor Francis. Councillor Steve Dean.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I certainly will be backing our NHS workers, including doctors, nurses, physios, ambulance paramedics and more, because but for them, I would not be here today. A number of years ago, I was involved in a serious road traffic accident when I was hospitalised for nearly a year. I owe my life to these NHS workers, and so I certainly will be showing my support and solidarity to the striking workers. I recently was on the picket line alongside our ambulance paramedics, and these people literally saved my life. I have witnessed over many years now that workers over the years I've lost the decline in the morale of the NHS workers over the years. It's time for this government not to just stand and clap but to back them and resolve the issues. They need to fund our NHS properly and not to privatise it by giving their cronies contracts and pay our nurses and all NHS workers a decent wage and better working conditions, which they definitely deserve. I'm an active member of the Safe South Tyneside Hospital group, which we meet bi-weekly, but due to a prior engagement, I would be with them this weekend at the SOS NHS rally in London, but I will be there in spirit. And so I urge you all to back this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dean. Councillor Carter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think the motion itself is self-explanatory, but I think I'm very proud and privileged to be able to support this motion. No one wants to take industrial action or strike. And we've heard earlier this evening how dedicated our NHS staff are to the people of South Tyneside. Even though unions have suspended the planned strike action in England to allow negotiations with the government to continue, if the talks break down, the strike action will start up again. And I'm pleased to say that our two MPs have joined picket lines regularly throughout the strike action. The sad thing is, this could have all been handled so differently. The government could have started proper pay talks months ago, long before the first strike was called, and this would have avoided days of disruption for the NHS and its patients. I support this motion for a fully funded and resourced NHS. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Carter. Councillor Hetherington, do you wish to reply to the debate? Thank you, Councillor Hetherington. Is the motion agreed? The motion is agreed. Thank you, colleagues. We now move on to motion 2. This has been submitted by Councillors Ellison, Foreman, Atkinson, Proudlock, Barclay, Melling. Councillor Ellison, please present the motion to full council.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm pleased to bring forward this motion this evening to support care experience being recognised as a protected characteristic. The motion has been signed by all members of the Council's Corporate Parenting Committee and is a clear signal to our care experience population of our commitment to them. Care experience is defined as anyone who is or has currently been in care from a looked after background at any stage in their life, no matter how short, including adopted children who were previously looked after. In South Tyneside, we have a strong record of supporting children and people in our care and care experienced adults, recognising and prioritising the need for support for care experienced individuals. However, under legislation, we can go further than this. This motion put forward this evening supports of this view and calls on the government to act. So why is it important to recognise care experience as a protected characteristic? Quite simply put, it's to level the playing field and because it's the right thing to do. Care experienced individuals often face discrimination, often completely undeserved and without basis. We hear it in the language used to refer to children's homes as naughty children's homes. We see it in the challenges care experienced young people face when trying to secure their first homes. Completely unfounded, yet there's a perception. It's a perception that can carry through life, an individual's life, and that one that we collectively need to challenge and address. We need to address it for people seeking employment, looking for homes, accessing health and other services. In South Tyneside, we place a real focus on supporting our care experienced population, but this is often inconsistent along the rest of the country. A postcode lottery of support depending on where you are, on budgets available, and the interest placed in you by decision makers. As lead member for children, people and families, one of the questions that I often ask myself and officers is how do we make a difference for care experienced young people? And it's absolutely the case that we should carry this all in our consideration. We are all corporate parents. We have a duty to advocate in the best interests of our care experienced population. Madam Mayor, the motion put forward tonight takes real steps to embrace care experience further in the heart of our own decision making, and also makes the case nationally to the government that they need to take steps and change the law. The independent review of children's social care recommended that the government should consult on making care experience a protected characteristic, a recommendation that was shelved by a succession of disinterested ministers. Yet how can we bring about change for care experienced people without giving them the status that they deserve, without putting in place key measures to ensure that employers, business, public services, and policymakers take into real consideration the impact of their decisions and what they will do in dealing with people who have experienced trauma in their childhoods and are living with their experiences today. As a council, we have a duty as corporate parents. We have a legal duty up to the age of 25, but a moral duty beyond that. It's time that others did too. I move the motion, please, and hope that colleagues can support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ellison. Is that motion seconded?
Seconded, Madam Mayor. I would like to.
Excuse me? Can we not shout across the chamber when one councillor is speaking? Everybody else remains silent. Thank you, Councillor Foreman.
Thank you. I would like to second this motion, principally from a position of being a looked after child, albeit 65 years ago. But it seems to me that the motion itself talks about stigma and discrimination, which can be very explicit. When I was 10-year-old, I'm sure that a lot of people here remember Clevedon Cottage Homes. And if you don't, I could tell you some stories about that place. But it really is about stigma and discrimination. And that stigma and discrimination, it's as bad now as it was 65 years ago. So that's why I fully support this motion. And the big thing about it is, as being indicated by Councillor Ellison, was that the responsibility of being a corporate parent doesn't lie with the corporate parent committee. It lies with every member in this chamber. And it lies with members of in the public gallery as well as every officer. Because at the end of the day, these are our children in our borough, and we should protect them as much as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Foreman. The motion is now open to debate by members. Do any members wish to ask questions or speak or move an amendment to the debate? Councillor Robertson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to speak on it first, please, and then I'll discuss my amendment, if you don't mind.
Right, fine.
Thank you very much. I agree with everything that Councillor Foreman just said. And as he said, he's talking from experience and mentioned that we as councillors are corporate parents, and he said that it's ongoing now. Now, the horrendous experiences that I've had, not personally myself bodily, but involvement with others, with looked after children, and now care leaver. You know, in one instance, there's a young lad now sitting in Durham jail, right? He's a care leaver from South Tyneside Council, a 21-year-old, right? Now, the system totally let him down, sitting in prison right now. The system let him down when he was a looked after child. The system let him down as a care leaver now. The council was investigated. The council was told to apologise. They didn't apologise. So we've got to sort out our own place first before we preach to others. Because I'm not standing here lying on camera. The evidence is there. Senior officers know about the investigation. So we can't preach that we are all rosy in the garden when we're failing, seriously failing.
Councillor
Right?
Robertson, can
So
I
now
just,
I'm going to go to the
Councillor
report.
Robertson, can I just stop you right there? Right, there's nobody hiding anything.
Never
And
said
we
the word.
cannot.
I never said the word hiding.
Please don't talk over me, Councillor Robertson. I'm trying to explain something to you. We cannot discuss in this chamber individual cases. So please, you know, you can't blame people because we don't know the ins and outs of what someone may or may not have done. So please, you know, don't refer to individual cases.
I understand and I respect that, which is why I didn't say any names. But if you're going to say don't refer to individual cases, in the motion itself, it says one young person told the review that a teacher had told them, you're smart for a kid in care. Another person said, I don't want people to point out that I am in care and I don't want that mentioned. It makes me feel so cross. It's giving examples, and that's what I'm giving an example.
Right.
Okay, thank you. So, in the wording of the motion, it says care experienced people often face discrimination and stigma across housing, health, education, relationships, employment, and in the criminal justice system. Again, not just that person I've just referred to. I've had, in the 4 years I've been a councillor, I've had a half a dozen families contact me or individuals on their own contacting me, and they're not good stories. They're not. And I've been onto the council, and it's all right saying in here, all corporate parents should be committing to act as mentors. Councillors should be champions of our look after children and challenge the negative attitudes and prejudice that exist in all aspects of society. I take things personally when it comes to things like that. But then I'm told, councillor, GDPR, it cannot be discussed with you, keep your nose out. So we're either corporate parents or we're bound by GDPR.
Everybody in our community, councillor, is a corporate parent. It's already been explained to you this evening by another member of this chamber. Can we move on, please, to your amendment to the motion?
Right. Okay, I'll just say that final sentence once again. We cannot say it's rosy in the garden when it's certainly not rosy in the garden. So the amendments that I'm proposing, I've done the same as the Labour councillors. I've went onto the Local Government Association website and I've searched through the 200 motions, any good ideas. Lo and behold, I come across the councils for this week. So motion 2, care experience, protected characteristics motion. So it came direct from the LGA website. The Labour councillors have proposed it, and I've made a couple of amendments. At point number 3, the original motion says that future decisions, services and policies made and adopted by the council should, where appropriate, be assessed through quality assessments to determine the impact of changes on people with care experience. And I'm saying alongside those who formally share a protected characteristic. And then at point number 5, it says on theirs, the original, ask the leader of the council and the chief executive. I'm adding in there, amending it to say, and the 2 local MPs. Yeah, and I'm doing the same at paragraph number 6, because I do believe we've got to involve the local MPs more, a lot more. It's all right asking the leader to write to whoever or the chief executive, but we need, in my opinion, to invite and involve their local MPs more and let the people see that they're being involved. So that's my amendments. So I repeat, I haven't changed or deleted any of the original amendment motion. All I've done is added stuff. So their motion was good. I've only strengthened it. Thank you.
Right, councillor. Is the amendment seconded?
Chair.
Councillor Ellison?
Yeah. Chair, I'm happy to second the amendments put forward. It represents very much what I put forward in my original draft of the motion, which was amended on advice. So I'm more than comfortable with accepting that.
Do any members wish to ask questions or speak on the amendments? No. Is the amendment agreed? Agreed. So that is carried. Thank you, colleagues. Therefore, the motion is amended, takes the place of the original motion. This is now the substantive motion to which any further amendments are moved. Do any other members wish to ask questions or speak or move another amendment? No. Councillor Ellison, as the original proposer, do you wish to reply to the debate? No. So the motion is agreed. Is it agreed, colleagues? Agreed. We now move on to motion 3. Motion 3 has been submitted by the following councillors: Porthouse, Ellison, Hetherington, Barclay and Potts. Councillor Porthouse, please present your motion to full council.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Elections Act passed through Parliament in early 2022 and introduced a new requirement for photographic voter identification at parliamentary elections, police and crime commissioner elections and local polls in England. This new requirement will come into force at the local elections on the 4th of May 2023. In preparation for this change, the Electoral Commission has launched a public awareness campaign. The campaign will include a combination of mass media and targeted digital advertising to maximise the reach of the campaign. In addition, the Commission has developed a range of resources to help local authorities to support residents to understand the new requirements. The Council has already undertaken a media campaign urging South Tyneside residents to make sure they are ready to vote by checking they have an accepted form of ID, and if they don't, to apply for free ID online or by completing a paper form.
Current research suggests that around 4% of people may not have any form of ID, or their photo ID may not be acceptable. This means that in May, approximately 3,200 polling station voters in South Tyneside are at risk of losing their ability to vote. A number of key national organisations such as the LGA, the Electoral Commission, the Association of Electoral Administrators, and many other experts have also raised concerns about this. South Tyneside Council recognises the barriers that this legislation will present to some residents within our communities from exercising their right to vote, whether that be due to the lack of appropriate ID or lack of knowledge of this new requirement in order to vote. In South Tyneside, we have a proud record of promoting democracy and ways of engaging with the democratic process, from participation in local democracy weeks or engagement with schools and community groups to the appointment of a democracy champion in May 2022. We must act collectively in order to ensure that all of our residents are able to exercise their right to vote. South Tyneside Council therefore resolves to 1. Instruct the leader of the Council and Chief Executive as returning officer to write to the Cabinet Office on behalf of the whole Council, raising concerns about the barriers to voting that voter ID will create and the timeline for implementation. 2. To undertake further work to ensure that residents of the Borough are aware of this important change to the way we vote through our various mediums of publicity. And 3. Build upon the success of Local Democracy Week and broaden this out to create more opportunities for residents, and specifically those in marginalised groups, to understand the democratic process and how they can participate, and provide a deeper understanding of the work that we do with local government and with our partners. The report.
Thank you, Councillor Porthouse. Is the motion seconded? Seconded. Councillor Ellison? Seconded the motion. The motion is now open to debate by members. Do any members wish to ask questions, speak or move an amendment? Sorry, Councillor Brennan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Voter ID might be an obstacle to some people, and I agree. We should all do our best as councillors to educate the public at large about the changes to our voting system. But I'm not fully convinced it's going to be a bad idea. I would argue, give it a try and see if these obstacles really do exist. Until we have given it a chance, will truly know. Instead, I think this council's energy should be directed at engaging the disenfranchised non-voters. People who have given up voting, because as some people who I've spoken to say, why bother voting? Nothing changes. In most of our wards, voter turnout is below 50%, with some as low as 34.6%. We should be focusing our energies and efforts in finding better ways to engage the public. We could start by making our committees more accessible by live streaming them and showing the public what we're all about. As Councillor Thompson's just pointed out, actually answering the questions the public give to the chamber and giving them an answer there and then. I think then we can only call ourselves champions of democracy. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Brennan. Councillor Foster? Francis, sorry.
Thank you. Voter ID, basically it's a hugely expensive way to solve a problem that doesn't really exist. And it also creates an additional barrier to democracy, with some claiming it amounts to essentially voter suppression. And certain groups of voters are likely to be disproportionately affected by this. And that is seen by some as a cynical political move to maximise the vote for a particular political party. In terms of turnout, which we've just heard about from Councillor Brennan, turnout is already very low in local elections, and I can see no reason why anyone would want to put further obstacles in place that might make it more difficult for people to vote. I'm sure, like myself, other members of this council will be knocking on doors in the weeks and months to come in the run-up to the local elections in May. And I've been surprised at how many people are either unaware or confused about the voter ID requirements, even though they've had communications from the council and there's obviously advertising campaigns underway. So there's definitely confusion out there, which I worry will result in some people turning up to vote and not being allowed to vote. In terms of the resolutions from the motion, if I can find them. So first one, writing to the Cabinet Office on behalf of the council, raising concerns about the barriers and the timeline for implementation. Absolutely support that. And given the timelines involved, surprised that hasn't already happened actually. Number two, undertake further work to ensure residents are aware. And I know that is already happening as we've heard through the letter drop to local residents and advertising campaign that we've seen in the borough. And number three, build on the success of Local Democracy Week. And as we've heard, that is definitely already happening. We heard about the year of democracy and, you know, welcome that. But bottom line here, there are huge cost and resource implications on both local government level and a national government level. And ultimately that is a cost to the taxpayer. And as I say, it's a problem that doesn't really exist except in microscopic percentage of cases. So this really is a sledgehammer to crack a nut. I've no hesitation in backing this motion and would urge others to do the same tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Francis. Councillor Robertson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to do an amendment and just one comment on the motion before I do, if you don't mind. The meal shot that was sent out in the last couple of weeks, did it really have to be Labour red?
I'm sorry?
The mail shot that was sent out about the voter ID was sent out as Labour red.
I'm sorry, I've got no idea what you're talking
I'm
about.
just saying for the camera. Thank you.
Well, I'm saying for the camera, councillor, because you keep referring to it.
So you get the
No, I'm not. I'm not arguing with you, councillor.
Okay.
I just don't know what you're referring to.
I'll tell you after the meeting.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. So I'd like to do the amendments. You've got them in front of you. I'm not going to go on and on. I'm not going to read 26 paragraphs. You can see at paragraph 1, I'm changing instruct to request. And again, I repeat, I've done the same as yourselves. I've took the motion of the Local Government Association's website. So I'm not amending your motion. It's a good motion. It just needed a little bit of help and strength from my amendment. So you can see the amendments in paragraph 1, and I'm including again the 2 local MPs. Paragraph 2, I'm saying in partnership with the 2 local MPs. And on the bottom of paragraph 3, I'm adding in the same spirit, we will ensure that we work with the 2 local MPs, including inviting each of them to attend regular full council meetings to clearly demonstrate the residents of the borough how democracy works at all levels of government. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Robertson. Councillor Best.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Madam Mayor, rather.
Sorry, Councillor Best. I should have gotten someone. I do beg your pardon to everybody in the council chamber. I should have gotten somebody to second Councillor Robertson's amendment to the motion. Is that seconded? Councillor Roberts has seconded the motion. Yes. The amendment to the motion. Thank you, Councillor Best. I'm sorry about that, folks.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Just a few things I think that are really important to point out to sort of enhance the debate, hopefully, and especially for the members of the public who are here and watching at home. It's really important to remember that this is legislation, so we don't have any option about the implementation of this. The concerns that are being raised are in connection with, certainly from my point of view, it's about the timeliness of the implementation. My understanding is that the Association of Electoral Administrators, which is the professional body for electoral administration, as it says, raised serious concerns with the government before the legislation was passed about the implementation phase. And normally this type of legislation would have been allowed around about a year. We are talking about being given months, and I pay a huge tribute to our elections team who have to now, implement this within that very short window of opportunity. So thank you to them for doing that. In terms of public engagement, we have taken this to all of the community area forum meetings, and I've attended as many as I can myself, just to enhance, again, the public's understanding and awareness. And again, ask all councillor colleagues on, all sides of the chamber to get behind promoting this, because it is something that we have no choice in terms of actually implementing it. It is the law now. So really just to point that out, that we have we don't have a choice. It is legislation, but we can certainly still lobby and raise concerns about the impact that this will have on democratic engagement in the local elections and beyond.
Thank you, Councillor Best. Does any member wish to ask questions or speak on the amendment that Councillor Robertson has put forward? Councillor Porthouse.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. With all due respect to Councillor Robertson and the other signatories of the amendment, I have the utmost respect for our two MPs, Emma Lowell-Buck and Kate Osborne, and the way they represent the borough, the residents and the community. But it's us that run local affairs. The council works very closely with both of our MPs and holds scheduled meetings with them regularly. In respect of MPs attending borough council meetings, MPs have multiple commitments and parliamentary sitting days throughout the week, so obviously have their own duties representing their constituents in Westminster to consider. I can't remember the last time an MP attended full council and the reason they felt they needed to. I just move the motion.
Right, Councillor Robertson.
Thank you. I take what Councillor Porthouse has just said, and it's all right saying that MPs have meetings with this one and that one, but we're shouting from the rooftops about local democracy. The people of South Tyneside, yeah, they see a fair bit of Emma Lowell-Buck. They only see the Jarrah MP for a photo opportunity, and they need to be coming to this chamber.
I'm sorry, Councillor, that's out of order. We
They need to be
sit
coming.
here.
Right, okay, I apologise. They need to be coming to this chamber so that
Excuse
people
me,
can see.
allow me to finish to speak first before you carry on, and don't talk over me.
Sorry?
Don't talk over me.
I apologise.
Right, we're not here to debate about our two local MPs, and we will not have them criticised within this chamber. Do I make myself clear?
If I was criticising them, I was trying to put a point across. So I'll put the point across in another manner. The public need to see democracy in action, not just the 54 councillors. They need to see the MPs that they're paying £150,000 a year for.
I'm sorry, Councillor. That is something you would have to take up with the MPs. That is not a council decision.
Thank you.
Is the amendment to the motion agreed? Right. We're going to have to take a vote on that then. Can I ask the monitoring officer to carry out a named vote? Or just a show of hands? Show of hands? Have we got 5 representatives? No, I'm sorry, you don't have 5, so only 5.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Elected members, I will ask each of you whether you are for, against or abstaining from the vote on the amendment. Sorry, I'm going right. So yeah, if you can just show, indicating clearly raising your hands. So all those for the amendment. All those against the amendment. And any abstaining?
Right. I can just move that the motion to the amendment has not been agreed. There were 7 abstentions, 3 against and 33 for. So the amendment to the original motion is not carried. Which procedure hasn't been followed, Councillor?
If my amendment wasn't carried, I haven't voted on the motion.
That follows this, Councillor, if you let me finish. Therefore, the original motion remains unchanged. Do any of the members wish to ask any questions, speak or move an amendment? Councillor Best.
Chair, it's just to do with the turn of the conversation. I work for the Member of Parliament that's been mentioned here this evening. So, you know, I'd happy to take legal advice on any further participation, but just to flag that up as an interest that I hadn't.
Thank you, Councillor Best. Councillor Porthouse, as the original proposer, do you wish to reply to the debate?
No.
Thank you. Is the motion agreed? Thank you, colleagues. The motion is agreed. Motion 4 has been submitted by Councillors Gibson, Porthouse, Ellison. Councillor Gibson, please present the motion to full council.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Until March 2023, the UK government had temporarily funded a £2 cap costing bus travel. The funding was limited and contributed the real boost for local travellers on the network. As the council declared a climate emergency change in 2019, we recognise that public transport has been a critical role in playing in reducing carbon emissions. We are aware of the negotiations ongoing with local bus operators, Nexus, as capped ticket approaches part of the North East Enhanced Bus Partnership. As we rapidly approach the end of the temporary government investment, we resolve to instruct the leader of the council to write to the Secretary of State of Transport and Chancellor of Exchequer to extend this funding and the cap bus fares at least until the end of the living crisis is behind us. Instruct South Tyneside Council representative on the Joint Transport Committee to raise this with regional and ask the JTC to take this up with government. I request the Director of Regenerations and Environment to work with regional colleagues as we consider a regional devolution arrangement to ensure to explore available opportunities to us. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Gibson. Is the motion seconded? Thank you, Councillor Porthouse. The motion is now open to debate by members. Do any members wish to ask questions, speak or move an amendment to the debate? Sorry, or move an amendment. Sorry, Councillor Francis.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm more than happy to support this tonight. Subsidised and capped public transport fares are an excellent example of how doing the right thing for the planet is also doing the right thing for the people we represent, encouraging people out of cars and onto public transport while also keeping more money in residents' pockets. Recently, Matthew Jenkins, a Green Party councillor in Worcester, pointed out that the £2 cap in single fares across England has benefited many bus users, but there's no point offering cheap fares on buses that don't exist. He went on to say that almost 1 in 10 local bus services were axed in Great Britain in the last year. Schemes like a £2 cap or Worcester Green's £1 fare to take you there need to be backed with major investment in buses and bus services. Jenkins went on to say, we need our buses to work for passengers, not for the profit of large private bus companies. We need greater powers for our councils to set routes and frequencies. And we know that where private companies can cherry pick the profitable routes, they leave other passengers out in the cold and sometimes leave communities cut off, which we know has happened in our own communities in South Tyneside. Hopefully, increased investment in public transport might be one potential benefit of a North East devolution deal, as mentioned in the motion. I'm more than happy to support this, as I hope other colleagues can, to make sure public transport and travel is accessible to all our residents.
Thank you, Councillor Francis. Does anybody else wishes to speak? No. Councillor Gibson, is the original proposer. Do you wish to reply to the debate?
Yes, Madam Mayor. I would like to outline the benefits South Tyneside have working with the Joint Transport Committee and our leader in the leadership of the North East, who is pushing forward benefits for our community bus and Nexus with metros. As members will be aware, the UK government has temporarily funded the £2 cap cost for bus travel across the country. It is now being firmed that the £2 cap will end in June. It's been extended. In addition to this, an announcement from the Department of Transport has been confirmed. 117.8 million of new fund for bus improvement for North East and National Bus Strategy. The North East leaders, as part of the Joint Transport Committee, has worked together to secure this funding, and we welcome this opportunity of sustainable transport and more affordable and attractive and easier to use transport. The funding will be used to create a formal partnership between bus operators and councils to deliver a major bus improvement for passengers. These details of changes for North East Bus Company Improvement Plan. To help people make switch suitable and sustainable travel, we will move quickly to launch the new £1 bus fare for young people under the age of 22 down over. The multi-ticket approach will be the option across the North East to help adults travel easier. And the further announcements will be commencing in further weeks. And I would like to thank all our partnerships, bus operators, Nexus, and members, councillors on the Joint Transport Committee, but also the leaderships, LA7, who has done this for the people of the North East. And we look forward to this coming. Next year, we have the new bus fund, which we'll call Refresh Transport Plan 2024, which Councillor Francis mentioned about devolution, and this will be announced in the next few months. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gibson. Is the motion agreed? Thank you, colleagues. Colleagues, that concludes this evening's business of the council today. May I thank everyone, including those in the public gallery and those watching from home, for your attendance. Thank you. Safe journey home.